Today we are going to cover some more operations with related to the project that we were building in part one. Basically today, as per many requests that I have received on my Telegram that people wanted to understand, uh, okay, we have implemented security with JWT token, but how to integrate the CURD APIs with it? So today we are going to continue building our project and we will see how we can uh, have some entities associated to users and the user can work with those entities and it will be very customized for each and every user. And for that, actually, I have prepared one of the sample application that we are going to continue to build today, and we'll see how to perform CURD in that. Okay, so first I will show you the requirement that we are going to do today, and I'll give a basic recap what we have implemented till now, and then after that we will start to integrate this requirement. Okay, so this is the requirement that we're going to have. Okay, so you can see, right, uh, till now we have developed two type of entities, like one was that user and second was the login request that we wanted to do, right? Today what we are going to do is for different type of roles we are going to give some different operations. For example, currently we have two kind of role. The data that is marked in red color is a normal user with a role called as user, and the blue color you can see is the admin, and we are going to give some operations for the admin. How we are going to tackle this problem is basically I have created a problem in which we're going to have a leave management system or HR management system where an employee or a normal user can apply for leaves, and the admin will be able to either approve the leave, see the leaves for all the users, and many more operations. Okay. And for that, I have created one new entity called as leave with the following fields. It has an ID, primary key, what is the category of leave, how many days the user is applying for the leave. We have one action date, the description, the status, and we will also have a user associated with the leave. And this user, as you can see, the relationship for that user and leave is many to one. Basically, many leaves can be associated to a single user. As per this diagram, it is very clear a user can have many leaves. To implement that, we'll have this reference of users as many to one. Okay. So this is what we are going to build today. We are going to associate the leaves to the normal user, and the admin will be going to provide some of the operations. What all APIs we want today? So as you can see, I have listed around seven APIs, three for a normal user and four for the admin user. Out of which, to make problems a little complex, my requirement number two and requirement number um, three, we are going to implement it in a single API. I'll show how. Currently, just bear with me, guys. I'll explain the requirement one by one. First is uh, how to let the user apply for leave. So basically, we're going to have a post endpoint where the user can submit a leave request. He can create a leave for himself. Okay. Second is he can update the comments of the leaves, right? And here I've given like update its own list of object. That means the user should be able to interact with its own leaves, not this user one cannot be able to apply the leaves, update the leave of other user to like leaf 4, leaf 5, leaf 6. This user one should not be able to update the entities of these leaf 4, 5, 6. How we're going to handle it, we'll see a little later in the implementation part. But basically, a user should be able to update the comment for its own leaves. Second, he can see his own set of leaves. Whatever leaves that particular user has applied, he should be able to see that, right? Then we have some more admin related operations. What are those? In admin, he should be able to approve the request. What does this mean? This means he should be able to change the status that we have defined over here, the status key, to whether approved or rejected. Uh, Basically, a update API that we want to expose for the admin, and he should be able to change the status of any user's leave. Second is he should be able to delete the request. This is a endpoint specifically for the admin, where if he feels like this particular request needs to be deleted from the database and it is no longer required, maybe because the employee might have left the organization for some reason, we're going to give this implementation where he can delete a request. Second, he should be able to see all the leaves, whatever this leave one, leave two, up to leave six, for example. Any admin should be able to see this. Suppose if this would have been a real application, then the admin ideally should be able to see all the screen, all the leaves, right? He should be able to see everything in the same screen. So that's why we're going to give this third implementation of all available leaves. Fourth one is get usernames having number of leaves greater than some value n. That means we're going to have an implementation where uh, he can fetch the usernames of like whatever the name or email that we have defined as our username. He should be able to fetch that as a list in like a non-repeated list, and in that he will pass basically a value n, and we need to fetch those users who have applied leaves number of days which are greater for than this n value. So basically this will be a custom uh, JPA operation that we want to perform, right? This is what we are going to develop today. I hope this might be clear to all of you. If there is any issue, it might be cleared while we are going to develop the app, right? What are the status code that you want to return, and what are the endpoints that we want to have? Let us update this document itself, what I want for individual one. Okay. So the request number one, I want to have a leave request in a response body. Sorry, in the request body, I will have a leave request object where he might specify all the important fields like category, number of days, action date, and all this field, right? And the status. He might not choose to give status, will by default keep it as pending. So this leave request will have this following fields. We'll have category, we'll have number of days, we'll have action date, we'll have a description or comment, same thing, and then that's pretty much it. We don't want the user to give any custom status. By default, we will keep it as pending. Okay. So this is my first entity that I want to have in the request body. What else do I want to accept from it? By default, the user must give me a JWT token in the header. I'll tell you how we can access it in our application. It's very simple to access the authorization or the JWT token. And basis on that, we're gonna save a leave, right? And once it is saved successfully, we're gonna return a 201 status code with the response as saved object or saved entity. What will be the saved entity? The leave. This will be the first endpoint. Second endpoint, I want him to update the comments. So for this, what we are going to accept is we're going to accept couple of query parameters. Query params I will have like, please give me the leave ID you want to update, right? And please give me the comment that I want you to update. And same, we want the authorization token in the header so that I can identify which user instance to trying to do this, right? Then third request, update this. We're gonna have, you can see his own set of leaves, right? So it's gonna be um nothing. We don't need actually any query parameters, so we just need the header here. That is JWT token, so that we'll identify what the user wants to do. So JWT token or the authorization, right? And then what I'm thinking, I think I'm by mistake I've said that I'm going to merge this second request and third request, but it is actually the third and third. Both third request I want to update. Okay. So here, uh, what I will do is from this token, for the time being, you please ignore if you don't understand this. Maybe later it will make more sense. If the token that is passed and that user has a role of user, what we will return is we'll return his or her own leaves. Okay, leaves. And if the role is an admin, then I want to return all leaves. So in the same API, I'm going to handle users operation number 3 and admins operation number 3. Okay. We'll return all leaves. Make application a little tricky. I'm implementing something like this. Then the fourth API, which is an admin API, we just do one thing. I'll move this above. I think we are done with this. We don't need this anymore. Let me bring this back down. Cool. Now, see, for request, I want the user to approve the request. So what we can do is we can have another query parameters that please pass me the leave ID that the user or I want to update, and please give me the status value, like whether it is approved or rejected. Those details we can have. Okay, and also this operation is only allowed for the admin, correct? So to make it very admin specific, let's again accept the authorization token, and from that we'll extract the row authorization or JWT token, and this is the header. Okay, then fifth request or fifth API, delete the request. It's pretty simple. Maybe we'll change it a little. This implementation will accept a path variable like this ID, and I want to have a leave ID in this, and again authorization token to know whether it is an admin or not. The header. And sixth API, all leaves. I think this sixth API is already covered in the third one, so I'll just mention already covered in three. Request. So we'll implement both of them together basically, right? And in seventh, get users name having number of is greater than value n. So for this, let's accept some query parameters again. I will accept just one query parameter, number of days, and this is like for how many days I want to query in the DB, right? Greater than how many days. That's pretty much it. Other than that, I will need the authorization token again. Authorization for JWT token. That's a header. Okay. And I think that's pretty much it. So in total, 7 requests I have, out of which number 3 and 6 are combined. So I'll just do it like this. That is have them in the combined. So I just mark them in blue for my reference later, but I'm combining this. Okay. These two are combined. Okay, other than that, I missed to add one more detail, like what all ports and endpoints I want. So let's quickly just say what all things I want. Suppose if in this second one, the user is able to update the comment, then what will return is will basically return the updated entity with status code 200. And if there is any issue down, I will maybe add this later. Ah, if return the updated entity with status close 200, and if there is any issue or some invalid user is trying to do any operation, let's return the status code as 401 and we'll say unauthorized. Then here for the third also, it's pretty much simple. We're gonna return the list of entities, the leave entity, list of leaves with status code 200. And if there is any invalid request, then we'll return unauthorized only. Good. Then fourth one, I want to return um, a simple message. Let's return 200 status code with a simple message saying that leave updated status is whatever status the user might have passed. For example, if he has passed approved, it will become like this approved. Okay, it's simple. If there is an issue, then what we will return the status code 40 again as unauthorized. unauthorized. Fifth is I want to delete a request. So again, pretty much simple. We'll return to zero status code mentioning leave deleted. Success. And if there's an issue or not a proper user, we'll return the status code as 001. Say unauthorized. And finally, sixth already covered. Seventh one I want to have mm, number of days. So it will be a very simple one. We'll return list of leaves with status code 200, and if there is an empty list means something that is not available in the DB. If it is written empty, that is fine. We'll not throw any error. And if there is any role based issue, then we'll return 401 with unauthorized. Let's quickly assign them endpoint for every page. So I'll make it a little bigger and change the color to black. For first one, I will have a post request with slash leaf slash user API for a normal user. Second, I'll have this is a get request. So we'll have no, this is a post request, my bad. This will be a put request with slash leave slash comment, whatever the user wants to update. Okay. Then here I want to do what I want to show this is a get request slash leave slash user. And fourth one, I want to have um, status update, right? So for status update, it can be a simple put request with slash leave slash status. And fifth one, I want to have delete operation on slash leave, and there is going to be an ID passed here of what I want to delete. Yeah, but finally, on the seventh one, since sixth is already covered in upper, I want to have a get request. This is going to be a get request on slash v slash days. So that's pretty much it on the requirement. I've intentionally kept this two fields, that is this post request and copy and paste this get request. I've kept the endpoint same, the slash sleep user slash the user, because I wanted to show you something, and when we will start the implementation, we will see. Okay, so I think they're pretty much clear on the basic requirement. In between, you might see a little bit changes in the messages. Please ignore that. My whole idea is just to understand, make you understand how all these things work. The messages, the response code that are actually very much dependent on your exam. Whatever they will specify, you can easily update that. So that's not much more important. You just focus on the core implementation, how to integrate JWT. Okay. So let's start with the recap as I discussed whatever we have currently implemented. Okay. So you can see I have this particular project here. Um, we have configured our Spring security in Spring Boot 3. For that, I had created one utility class, if you remember. And this utility class is actually supported for Spring Boot 2 as well as Spring Boot 3. You can see there are some deprecated methods that I've already discussed why I'm going ahead with this deprecated methods. If you change the version to Spring Boot 2, this will work perfectly fine. Just you have to remove this build function and everything will work like a charm. No issues. Okay. And this JWT util is used by this JWT authentication filter internally in order to extract the username from the token that is passed, right? So how this works is basically we intercept the request. This guy works as a front controller before our main controller, and it intercepts whether a particular request is a JWT based request or not. If it is a JWT based request, means it finds some authorization header.
and then it will remove the bearer from that. And further, here it is removing the bearer part, and it will use the token to get the username, and then it will check if the username is not null, and if it is not currently logged in the application, then please go ahead and validate the token. And after doing the validation, please update my context that this user is an authenticated user. That's pretty much simple. It internally uses this user detail service, and we have given the implementation of user detail service as a separate service layer. You can see it is implementing this user detail service, and this guy needs to interact with the database to load the users from the database. So that's why we have given this implementation here. It's pretty much simple again. This particular function is coming from this user detail service. It has asked us to override this function. You can see this is add override, and we are using our repository to get the details, right? And we need some more configuration in order to let our Spring Security run and use our authentication, custom authentication filter. That configuration we have already done in our security configuration. You can see here we have registered our authentication filter, and we are registering it in the very front because we are registering it before this username password authentication filter. If you see the filter chain, if I go back to my diagram, might have it handy. Yeah, here you can see, right? By default, what happens is this is my security filter chain, and this guy is not present. We are creating a custom filter and adding it in front of the default filter chain. Means this is being placed over here, right? So that's what we are registering. And to configure this filter chain, we need some more beans. And for that, if you remember, we have created our own application config. And here I have created one password encoder. I have created authentication provider, authentication manager. What are the uses of these? I have already explained. These two are used to validate the public endpoints. If I want to do some operation like a slash login is a public endpoint, right? And we wanted to log in a user and issue a token to him. So for that, if you remember, we had used this. We are not going to do the checking part that whether the username is equal to what username is present in our DB and password is also equal to whatever password is present in our DB. We don't do those things manually. Instead, what we do, we delegate that to this authentication provider and authentication manager by giving them the references of the user detail service and the encoder. Okay, so this is what we require. And apart from that, there are some basic default things that I've done just to make our application run, which is like we created one app runner to register our user and role in the database because I don't want to expose any endpoint via which the user can save any details. These are maybe like sensitive to my application. So we have not created any register endpoint. Second, I have created one auth entry point. This auth entry point is used to handle any exception that is read during the authentication. So suppose if any error will come, then they will see this particular error, user not found. So let's change it today because today we are going to have a different JWT based implementation. So what I will gonna say is if some error comes, please return a message like unauthorized, and to distinguish this unauthorized message from the one that we will be going to have in our card, like down here I told you now we also have this unauthorized error or message for our general card APIs. We'll let's add unauthorized, which is coming from this auth entry form, so that we'll know which handler is coming into action when we'll be testing the APIs. So this is auth entry point that we are having, and I'm going to change this status code to 401. Okay, in your application or in your actual exam, if you see that you need to implement some different message or if you want to change the code, you can reuse this part. Okay, and we have to also register this auth entry point to our security config. So that's what we have done. You can see this auth provided is auto-add here. We have also provided this authentication entry point, which I was just mentioning, and we have to register both of these. So you can see, first of all, this exception handling is added over here. You may see that how to do is you can have this function which accepts a lambda exception configuration, and you can pass your reference of auth entry point. So then it will use this as a default exception handler if there is any issue in the security filter chain or if there is an issue during the login mechanism. And then you can see I've also added this authentication provider so as to handle all the public endpoints. And There are some default things that we have to do. We have to disable the CSRF because we're not passing any CSRF token in our application. Our application is a stateless application because the server is not storing any information of the users in the application context. It's just like we are saving it, but we are saving it in a database, and there are no sessions maintained. What is a session? You might not want to go dig deeper into, but for reference, you can tell. If there is an application that is not stateless, then what they do is they create some cookies and they create some session IDs that are stored for individual client, and the server maintains that. But we are not doing anything like that. Our application is only handled by a JWT token, so it's a stateless application. And then I have done some whitelisting of the URL using the HTTP authorized HTTP request. And here you can see I have given the whitelisted path a slash login, and I'm permitting everyone to use this. And then I have one more endpoint slash API slash star 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 would mean like any endpoint after this has to be a user to access this. This we have already tested. And if there's any other request, then it needs to be authenticated. Okay, cool. Now, first thing I want to do is let's just create some basic skeleton of the requirement that we want to do. Because in your actual exam also you will see some skeleton will be provided. Okay, so let's just quickly just create all these small things. So first thing that I would need is a leave entity, right? So let's go ahead and create the leave entity, guys. So I'll go to my model here. Let's create a class called leave. And what I will do is just for my simplicity, let me copy all these fields and paste over here. So I'll copy it as text. There's an option to copy as text, right? Then I will use a creating this entity. What else? What do I need? First, I need the ID. So I'll assign the ID over here. I need the category, private string category. I need the number of days. So I'll say private in number of days the user want to apply the leaves for. And then I want action date. So I'll have a private date, like action date means when it is applied, let's say. So let's do one thing. Let's change this name from action date to applied on. That makes more sense. So let's make it like applied on. Uh, and on here also I'll change the diagram. Applied on. Okay. Come back here. Applied on. It will go date in the description. Private string description. Then I status. Uh, we can keep it as a string, but I don't want the user to pass any other status, right? Because there is an endpoint for the admin where he can approve the request or let's say modify the leave status. So if we allow the user to pass anything, then he might change it to anything that he wish to. So what we do, let's do one thing. We will change the status to a enum. Let's create a status enum quickly in this model. New enum called as status. Let's have only three status for now. One is pending, approved, or rejected. Let's use this reference now. Leave. So it is already the same package, so it does not need to import explicitly. I need to have a user assigned. User, user. So my fields are ready. Let's delete this and add some setter getters and constructors. So I have source, generate setter getters, select all, generate. Then I need to have constructor. Source, generate constructor using fields, add, delete this super, omit that. Let's also delete constructor from super class and the super keyword again. And let's have a toString as well in this implementation. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Now let's convert this complete object, a plain Java object, into a JPA. So let's make this particular leave request as a JPA entity. So for that, I'm going to add entity. Okay. After that, let's add table. Let's say I need to have a custom name for my table. I'll say leave underscore request. And after that, let's add an ID over here. It's gonna be a generated value. The strategy I want as identity. Then this category is a column. And then let's have number of days as a column. And let's give a name to this, like number or days. Then I can have applied on. It is also a column. Let me expand this a little. Yeah. Then here also I have a add column. Then again, this is not a column but an enumerated set. So we'll have to add explicitly enumerated, and the type of enumeration is a string. Then this, how do we want to map a user? One user can have many leaves. So the left hand side of the mapping that we want to decide belongs to the current class. So the current class is leaves. So there are many leaves that I have to assign to a single user. So we have given a many to one entity. And what should be the type of fetching over here? I want to fetch it eagerly. As soon as my leave request is fetched from the database, I want the user to be fetched as well. After that, let's add joining properties. I'll have a join column, which will tell in this table, basically in this leave request table when it will be created, they will also create a foreign column for the user. So what name I want of that foreign column? I want it to be user underscore ID, and it should be a referenced by, means from this user object, uh, what is the foreign key reference, which is going to be that ID. So we'll say there is an ID over here. That's single double quotes, right? So my joining is also prepared. We have successfully mapped a leave with the user, and let's proceed with the rest of the things. So to proceed with my skeleton, next what I want is I need a repository to interact with this, right? So let's go ahead and have the repository, create new repository, new, and I need a class that will be my leave repo. Oh, sorry, it's not a class, but an interface here. And this is going to implements the extends my JPA as a repository. I need a leave over here, and the primary key of the leave is an integer. This is my add repository. Okay, does this. Next thing what I need is I need a way so that my user can interact with this. So let's go ahead and create the controller quickly. New class, leave controller, and this is going to be an addressed controller, first controller, first controller. And then I want, if you come back to my diagram, you can see all of my endpoints start with slash leave. So what should we do is let's quickly add a parent level request mapping that is going to be slash leave. Okay. If your application or if in your program you don't have a same mapping across the endpoints, then you can ignore this and give that path to individual endpoints. But since I have designed it this way, I'm going to keep it at my root level. Then what else do I need? I need the controllers. So let's go ahead and create each of them one by one. I need a post leave. So let's create a post mapping, and the path I want it to be slash leave slash user, and then with I want to return a response entity of what we want it to return a generic object, because I need to either return some error or I need to return some object from the response. Just so we're going to keep it at like object. Here I'm going to name it like add leave request. Then in the request body, I need to have a custom leave request from the user. So go ahead, let's go ahead and create one more model that is going to be in class leave request. What do I want the user to pass? I want only some part of the problem that the user can pass. that I have defined over here, right? This much information we need. So let's copy this and prepare the skeleton. This is what I want. So let's say I need a private string category. I need number of days, number of days, and I need a date on which date the user is applying. So we'll say applied on. This is called as applied on. And we need a description. It's private string description. Right. Let's organize our imports to import the date. Let's go ahead and create the status indicators. Source generator indicators. All of them. And it's not mandatory to have constructors for the request body, so let's not create that. I'll go back to this. You can mention it now. I need a leave request as leave request. For now, let's just return a null. Because this is just a skeleton that I want to have. And quickly create all of it. Let's go back to a diagram. Next is a put request slash leave slash comment. So let's say I need a put mapping. It should be slash leave slash, sorry, slash leave is already covered. So it's just gonna be slash comment, and it is again going to return a response entity of the object. And the name I want to say like update user comment, and what do I need to accept? So going back to my diagram, I need to accept the leave ID and the comment, right? So let's add that as a query parameter, not a false variable. Let me leave everything. Let's accept the request parameter that is going to be integer type, and the name I'm going to assign is leave ID. And also I need a request parameter again. That is going to be a string type comment. And let's not return anything for now, but implementation later. Next, what do I want? I want get request. So let's go ahead and create it. A slash user again. So you can see, right, this particular endpoint and this particular endpoint is same with a different method. So how to tackle this insecurity? It's going to be very interesting. So see that as well. So the name will be get these. And here, what do I want to accept? Am I accepting anything? No, we are not accepting anything. We are just going to accept token. That will do a little later. So I don't have anything over here. And the response type, I want it like this. But none over here. Go ahead. I just create a put mapping to update the status for admin. Say another put mapping slash status. And this is gonna be update leave status. What do we need here? We are accepting a leave ID, right? No, this is the one. We are accepting the leave ID and status. Okay. So it's gonna be a request parameter only. Request param integer. It's gonna be a leave ID from the user. Let's accept a plain string. Later we can have a validation whether this particular status belongs to our enum or not. Then response, okay, I want this like this. Get return one over here. That's fine. Next is the delete request, delete leave. So let's create a mapping to behavior. Now let's create it manually. read mapping, which is just gonna have put it in double quotes quickly. Yeah, a ID. And it's gonna be public response entity, copy from here, paste it, and then I'll say delete, leave, and we need to extract this from the URL. So we are going to use a path variable, and the name is going to be same as what the variable name is. So this matches enough for example. And let's return login. It's fine. Going ahead. And then I need to get leaves by number of days. So this is an additional request that I want to have. So we'll add public response entity of object. I need get by number of days. And here we need what? We need to accept a parameter called number of days. So let's go ahead and add that as well. At the rate request parameter, integer number of days, right? And here let's give a get mapping. Let me copy it from here and paste it here. And it's going to be slash days. Yeah, let's return a number. So my controller skeleton is ready. If you guys don't want to watch up till then, you can skip it. If you're already aware of how to create this controller, that's pretty much good. You can directly come to this part and start from there. Next is let's go ahead and create a skeleton service. We'll not give the implementation. So go ahead and give a skeleton new class called service. This is complete an add service, right? And we're gonna have auto wire my repository to interact with my D in DB. We go the reference, right? And copy paste certain fields. Let me copy the control in this view services so that I can quickly copy paste all this and paste. Celebrations, that's fine. Copy this, paste this, paste this. I will make the request parameter annotation. I will make the request parameter annotation. That's fine. And copy this. Paste it over here. Copy this. And paste it over here. I will make the request parameter. Request parameter again. Copy this. Paste it over here again. Copy the annotations. Copy. Paste. In. Done like this. Yeah, it done with the services. Organize the reports. Get what this so that I can get into the same view. Yeah. So now let us understand how we are going to control the role based service. Okay. So if I come back to my security configuration that we had created earlier, let's understand how we can control various endpoints, right? So let me go ahead, guys, and copy this endpoint that I want. This is 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. Control C or write the copy as text. From here, I will just paste it here for my reference. I need all these endpoints, right? So down here. So let's go ahead and update my security filter chain over here. And we're gonna also see how we can give multiple access to various sources. Earlier, if you remember, we were using a function called as request matchers, which was expecting various patterns. But this time, if I move this a little upside, you see that I need to handle a same kind of mapping, which is like slash leave slash user slash leave slash user, but different methods. How I can do that? So let's start it by taking a dot and see what are available methods that are present. Um, Let me remove the comment from this side. Yeah, dot. Yeah. So if you scroll and type request matches, you'll find there is one more method called as request matches by various method types. This is going to be the major functionality provided by Spring Security to handle the same mapping but with different method names. Hit on enter. This is going to be a first one. Let's update, and this is going to be a post request. So I'll type HTTP status or HTTP method dot post, and this is my endpoint. Let's say this endpoint be secure. We can copy and paste it here. Okay, sorry. Before going there, uh, this particular slash list slash user, who is going to access? I want this endpoint only to be accessed by my normal user. My admin should not be accessible. So you know how to update it. Just type as any authority and just mention this is going to be a normal user, no one else. Next, let's have another request method by removing this comment. Let me do one thing. Let's quickly edit from every line so that I don't have to do it again and again. Cool. So my request method, I want the method to be http method dot get and see the same endpoint I'm going to give here. And this will be used. Dot as any authority. Who wants to see their leaves? So this requirement, if you remember, I have combined the this is the third number requirement. If it is user, he should be able to see or his her own leaves. And if it is an admin, he should be able to see all leaves. So this endpoint get leave user is accessible for both of them. So when we give authority to a user and an admin. Then let's proceed to this update one. Who can update the comment? Slash leave slash comment. I just copy pasted this to save time. Only user can update the comment. Let's again copy this, save time. This one is going to be a put request. Can update the status. Only admin can. Again, give a delete endpoint. We delete. We can delete it. Acha, here's the catch. Is this a part of my request URL? No, it's a path variable. So you don't need to specify that. It's up to you. You can also specify slash slash. That is also fine. You can ignore to have that. That will also. Both are fine. Okay. And who can delete? Only admin can delete. That's cool. Just one more endpoint is left, guys. Let's give that as get request slash leave slash days. Only admin can see. So using this much, our security filter chain is ready, right? Let's go ahead and start the service implementation. Okay, cool. So let's analyze this. Currently, if you see my service layer, and I think similar service layer you might find in your application or your examination, we are not having any access. Like, how can I know which user is trying to access this endpoint? And even if I go back to my controller, let's go to my controller, leaf controller, not login, sorry. We'll go to the leaf controller. There is no way I can know who is trying to access this endpoint, correct? So to access that, what we are going to do, we're going to extract the header details, right, of the token. To do that, there's a ready-made annotation provided by Springboot called request header. Just you can specify in double quotes what header you're gonna have the key name as. So the key name of my header is going to be authorization. And here we can give string auth header, right? Auth header. Let's quickly inject it in every one of them because we are going to we know a way to know which user is accessing this particular endpoint. So it is required for each one of them. So let's add it. This is done. Now, guys, next thing what I want to do is I need to know what part of my header is a relevant key. Why I'm saying it? See, if I'll show an example in my application, how do we pass my authorization header? So in any request, suppose this is my request object. You have certain fields, right? And then one part of the field, one part of the request is headers, right? And our header is going to look like this. It is going to be like a key value pair only. We'll have a key and a value. Here, what we are doing is we're passing our authorization header token. If you remember my previous video, the key value pair and the value we are going like this. Bearer, some character followed by a space like this, right? This is how our token is generated. So we need to access this authorization. And this is my token. This is how it's going to look. But if you remember, my actual JWT token that I had issued starts from character number 7. This much I need. So that's the same thing that we're going to do over here. We need a way to extract the user from the authorization header. So all we can do is we can just do like auth header dot substring, right? Why I'm doing it? Because I need only the essential part that is JWT, correct? Can freely copy paste in every API. That's easy. Now my JWT is extracted. Now it's up to you how you want to implement this, whether you can extract your username from this token right over here, or you can do it in the service layer as well. That is up to you, how you want to go ahead and develop this application. For me, as a general practice, I like to extract the username rightly at the controller. So what I generally do is like I auto wire my JWT util because that's the class that is responsible for any extraction or generation part. Auto wire my JWT util over here. Using this, you can easily extract my username, right? And somewhere here, I have my username handy, and I can also copy paste it anywhere. Paste, else, paste this, here also. Now, I have successfully been able to extract the username from my authorization header by following the same approach that we were doing in the JWT authentication filter. If you remember, we had done the same thing. We had extracted the authorization, then we extracted the JWT token. We used our JWT to extract the username. Same approach we have done in controller. Now do one thing, like we want this username to be passed to my service layer so that the service would know who is accessing. And let's go ahead quickly in our service, which is the leave service, and update this. We will inject the username over here. In your actual examination, you might not have the username being passed, but you can freely go ahead and add it without any issues. That's fine. There are more ways to do this. Means we can have can get hold of the security context object to know your current logged in user or who is trying to access this. But this is a better approach which I follow, and I'll tell you how you can get your user from the database using the username. Okay, so this much is done, and now what we can do to complete my controller, we can auto wire my service as well. Get it auto wired, leave service, leave service, and we can return it from this. Later we'll handle whatever is want to handle, right? The service part. Let's update is a comment, update is a comment. I have the correct details. Service dot get leaves, service dot endpoint, update status, and I have delete leave, delete leave. I have one more endpoint called as get leave by number of days. This much part, I think it's pretty much easy to do. Then your controller will be ready. Then let's go ahead back to my service and complete it. If service. Okay. Now, guys, if you see, I have the hold of my user, right? And
when I want to save it in my database, for example, if I'm working with this add API, and if I go back to my actual JPA entity, the leave entity, does it accept the username anywhere? No. Instead, it needs the actual user DB object. So we need a functionality to access my user object here and there. So let's do go ahead and create a private function which will return me a user, which is called as get user from user. Here I'm going to accept my username, or you can also mention the user ID. Since you know our user is identified by its email as per the last part one, we can also mention the email, right? So this is okay for our stuff. Yeah. How I can get the user, right? How can I get the user? Right. The repository, right? So let's start over my new user repository. The repository data find by email. And that's it. And yeah, okay, it's gonna return me a different data type. It's gonna return an optional of user. That's even better. Suppose if somebody is passing some username or a token which does not exist, we can directly throw an error using this optional type. If it's empty, your username does not exist. This utility function is very important to have. It's a good way to have it in your application. And let's fill our APIs sometime. So this is add leave request. One good thing to have is let's have a try catch in every of the API. It's a good practice to have. If any exception comes, you'll be able to see it as a default error. So this is a block that I usually follow for implementing any application. You can also get this. There is calls, entity, then and dot status code. Let's give a 500 series. Then in the body, let's give a message like error in the server plus dot get message. So what can you do is if you have custom message that the application you want to send or the examination you want for some custom message, you can provide a type, right? Just copy paste it everywhere. Paste, paste. That's it, right? So let's go ahead and fetch my user this username. So how can do it? I can use this private function get user from username, and if I hit control, it's gonna tell me a user that is optional, completely, right? What sanity check I want to have here? I want to have a sanity check. Like if my user optional is, what does this mean? This means passed a username, but in my application I cannot find anything in the database. So this is the error condition. So this is a sanity check number one. Says this my user does not exist. What we can do is we can return a custom status or any status that the application you want to have or as per the examination you can keep. For me, I generally like to keep 404 that the user is not found in the body. I say the user does not exist. And just to know from where this message is coming for the time, I'll keep that it is coming from my lead service. Okay. Okay. And then we also want to control the role from the set. So you might argue that the role configuration we have already done, the security configuration, right? We have already defined which endpoint is accessible by which role. So what I'm going to say, we are going to have a sanity check number two that will tell this user is having which role. Why do we need it? Because currently we are assuming this complete service layer is used by the controller and the requests are coming from some REST client, right? But consider a scenario, this leave service you are auto wiring somewhere in this same project, right? In that case, uh, your username, anyone can pass as some default value like ABC or some user that they know exists in DB, some admin user.
But we should not allow that, right? Because in that case, they are able to bypass this validation and they will be able to do it. So what we generally do is we have a validation also need to check for the role as well. So we're gonna say, please get me the original user first, the optional dot get this will be the user from the DB. You can get the role as well from the user DB. Get role one. This is my role. You can say like if what with what center check I need here. So this is an add request. So I can say if my role dot get role name is what? If it is user, then only he can add it. But let's add a reverse guard clause and say if it is not a user, then throw some error. So we'll throw the same error, saying 404, and we'll say let's keep it 400 series, 401 like, and we'll say you are unauthorized to access this endpoint. For the time being, let's keep this leave service endpoint there because I want us to understand whether this error is coming from my service or it is coming from the authentication endpoint that we have also created. So if you see this, here also we have created one unauthorized endpoint. So this is coming from authentic point and this one is coming from the service. So to distinguish between both of them, we need the name of the classes. Okay. This much is pretty much okay. And you can actually go ahead and add this sanity checking technique. Just change the role name later basis on what is required. Okay. So copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, and that's it. So we'll update this user details once we reach to the respective endpoint. For now, let's complete each and every API one by one. So let's go ahead and update this add leave request. And once the semi check is performed, what do I need to do? I need to persist the leave object in my database, but I cannot persist this object directly in the database because it's not a GP entity. So we need to convert this leave request to a leave that we have as a GP entity. So let's go ahead and do that. Say leave request to new leave and say leave dot set applied on. We get it from my leave request. So control dot get applied on. Say leave dot set category. List dot get category. Leave dot set description. We'll say request spelling display. Leave request dot get description. Then we say leave dot certain number of days. Okay, 2000 first dot number of days. So leave dot set status. Now you can see the status is actually an enum that we have, and there's no pretty much how to convert a generic string to a enum. You can use the enum reference, then you can call the function called as value of, and it will return the value from any three of this. So you can say status dot request dot get status. Okay, I remember now we don't have any status such as means we are not allowing the leave request to pass us any status, and by default we're going to keep the status as pending. So we give it like this. Or since it's something that we are controlling from the backend, we can directly type status dot pending. Status dot pending. That's okay. And what we can do is we can say, do I need anything else? Yes. Very important thing for which user this particular leave belongs to. And you can see very greatly we have got hold of the user by using this username and this user DB, and we can pass it. So then it's already there. Now we're able to control this customization of okay. And I'm gonna save this to our DB, then gonna save leave record, leave record dot save, what I have to save, I have to save this entity. We can save say return response entity dot Um, okay, no, we need a status of created like 201, and it's body. This body I'm gonna pass this simply. Yes, you guys are pretty much comfortable with all this third, which I'm gonna do. The major part is this much, which is new to us, which is part for some security. That is clear. So I think we are good with our ad leave clause. Currently, I'm not adding any sanity check like whether my leave is already existing in our DB. Means we can have some more checks like if a particular description is already present in the DB, we can say, okay, you have already had a similar request. But for now, let's keep it simple and not add that validation. Let's go ahead and update the next API. Here, accept comment, date, leave. We're also accepting this leave ID. So the first check that I should do is whether I have any leave in my DB with this ID, and if I have that, whether that leave belongs to the user that the username is passed in this function, right? Because if it is a different username trying to modify some different user, we should throw some error like you are not the correct owner of this entity. Let's go ahead and implement that part. First, we will do leave repo dot find by ID, and we'll pass the leave ID over here to get us the leave optional of leave, and generally called optional, other value optional if so. Uh, well, uh, let's expand this a little. If my leave optional dot empty, that means it does not exist. So we can simply return by saying um, this particular leave does not exist. Okay. Suppose if it is existing, so we'll say leave optional dot get to get the hold of real object, say leave dot get user. Who is the owner of this leave, right? Then we can have comparison of this user from the user that we fetched earlier from the database. Their name should match. User DB dot get. You can have the validation as per whatever you want to have. You can have it basis on ID. You can have it on the username. These two fields we can generally use to match the same user presence or not. For the time being, I like to use the user email that I have prepared in the beginning. Going to get like this. If user db dot get email ID is equals to the user that I have received from the db dot get email. So let's add a reverse guard clause. If it is not matching, I want this error to be thrown in the front end that not is please. Okay, so that is done. Next, what I can do is if everything is passed and reached to this point, we'll say for this leave, go ahead and update the comments. Say leave dot set description, which I'm treating as a comment, the updated comment, and you can go ahead and record update this entity with the save functionality. Say save, yes, leave. That's the That's the requirement. Let's do that. That's the wrong site. Dot a and give them the same entity. That's nice. Okay, let's demonstrate. I think do I need to cover anything else in this? I don't think so. This is a user comment, so the roles should also be a user. And rest of the conditions are also correct. Let's proceed with the next one. Get leaves. Here is the tricky part for this API. I combined two requests. If I want to call different repository, this is on the role that is passed. So for the same API, if it is a user, normal user that is trying to access this endpoint or access this functionality, I want him to only see the leave that he has applied. And if the role is an admin, I want them to see everything. So let's go ahead and change this uh, validation over here. We'll say if you are an admin, let me return where. So we'll say dot okay, and we can directly call read repo dot find out. Then. So can you have this not condition? This is done. Else if you are a user, a user, what do I need to do? I need to basically control and check what are the leaves that you have applied. So for that, I think currently we have not created any ready-made JPA function. If I see like repository dot find by username, I don't have anything like that, right? So let's go ahead and create this script. So I go back to my repository. Here I have it. I can create a new function that is going to open a list of leaves and I will type find by user. You can go ahead and use this implementation, or there's more ways how you can do it. Let's tell you other way as well. If suppose if you don't have the hold of the user object itself, then only a certain primary identifier like an ID of the user or the name of the user, right? So you can follow a pattern which is provided by JPA, whatever child object that you have in your parent JPA entity. So in this parent leave, I have a child entity reference called as user. You can go ahead inside that and just find that key using what you want to get. You can have it by ID, you can have it by email. So you can just rename your JPA site by saying find by user and what field. It's email. That's all. The E should be capital and the rest of the part should be a field of your child object. Just pass the string email, email, oh, then won't vanish. And if you want to change it by the ID, you can say user ID, pass to int ID. That is no issues. So I go back to my service. So if I go to my user, if you say I have a column called as ID, that is okay. So we have three options to use this. For the time being, I find myself comfortable using this user email. Let's go ahead and come back to it. Then let's go back here. It is a normal user. Let's call our information function. We just find user email custom. Let's return this custom. And if it is a role that I don't identify in my application, let's throw an error like this. You're not authorized to use this. Uh, yeah. And that's pretty much it, guys. We are ready with this API, which covers two scenarios. Go ahead and proceed to my trust. Update leave status is an API that I want to be accessed only by an admin. So we're going to keep this status admin. And let's say next thing, first I should check whether by my leave ID do we have any leave existing. So you can go ahead and copy paste the code that we have already implemented. You should save time in your examination and do the same things. So I go up, I have a implementation that is already present. Like this. This much you can copy. But doesn't exist, you can throw this at this point. Let's see, find the leave object. So error to the existing can add and let's update the status. So e dot set status. Now again it accepts an enum and you can reuse the which I was telling earlier. You can give the reference of the enum of class and you can the value of and give the status. Right. And to have a safety, you can just call it to uppercase. Suppose the user is passing it in a small case, any other case like apply or apply or it will be able to handle all this. And for safety, let's also not allow user to pass anything apart from approved or reject. So let's say if my status status dot no equals to no case not approved or uh, not rejected. Then we throw an error. Rejected or error. Let say inherit new error string invalid status. Okay, or else change the status and then go ahead and save it in my TV report or save my that's yeah. Saved leave, but I think as per my requirement, what I want to return is different. I want to say like leave status updated and this turn leave status updated automatic voice passing status dot global. And I want to pass this in a response entity, my bad. Response entity dot name body. Substitute. Don't think so anything you'll find any issues in this card operation that we're performing. I'll delete leave. That's and my delete leave request. So first thing again, I have to first check whether my leave belongs to the database. And before that also you can see currently this is the default thing which I copy pasted. I want this delete to be accessible only by admin if this overall service leave service is accessible within my package. That's why I'm adding this condition. I'm again telling you guys you don't need it if you are accessing it from your controller. If it is coming from a client, but if it is used within your application, you need to have this, right? So let's go ahead and check this ID processed. So we will say leave repo or defined by ID by ID. You can also go ahead and copy paste from above, but I'm for now typing it from you guys. It is going to be optional. If optional is empty, I have a guard clause here, which will say it does not exist, right? So return response entity dot status kind of 101. I think I'm returning. Yeah, body and past. Leave does not exist. Leave service. Lots of done. Is existing. Let's go ahead and get a hold of my leave optional dot get my leave. Do this. I want to say leave what the we have multiple options to and you can correct entity itself or you can delete by its primary key. I like to use the entity one and this. It's deleted. That's it. Response entity dot okay. See what messages that control the delete one. We're saying um delete related success. Yeah, let's use that. See, leave deleted success. And we have completed this implementation of the essentially and implement the file. What is the deployment value?
Get usernames having number of leaves greater than some value. Right? It's pretty simple implementation. It's going with that. So I think ready-made JPA, I don't have it handy. Let's create one method first that will return me number of leaves that are having greater than this value. Right? So going to make it, let's create find by. I hope you know how to use JPA. If not, do learn it first. Or just create one JPA returns. I'm gonna use find by month. Sorry, find by number of days. Here I'm gonna pass option for return. Will automatically generate me a query and uh, now there's one issue here. Suppose if the user has applied more leaves, where the number of days are not high. So we have a repeated username, right? Need to show an example that suppose I have a user called Ribas who is typically returning who has applied multiple leaves, let's say leave one for how many days, let's say 4 days, another leave two, um, leave two for 7 days. Then if you see, if I invoke this endpoint, it is going to return me a list of leaves, right? So if I invoke the database, just for a return leave list of leaves, which will have leave one as well as two. And both of them internally contain the username and pass. Donate that. Because as per my requirement, I just need to get usernames or unique username, which are him. I don't, it doesn't make sense to return the repeated. So what we'll do, we can handle it in our JavaScript. Okay. And here, let's all this. Acha, one more thing before I again, you also keep a track of this. Which role can exit? Only admin can exit. Right. So let me update that. See, in the repository. Verified by a number of days better than any things based on condition. And then we'll say, uh, I know stream APIs, but let's do it in using a simple plain Java. What we can say, let's create a set to maintain the uniqueness of username or emails. We'll say emails, but names equals to a new hash set. Here I will say like usernames. Okay. Iterate over this each condition. Let's say for every each condition, go ahead and add it use usernames. Names dot add what do I need to add? I need to add the user preferences. Okay. User dot add email. Correct. This will ensure the uniqueness and directly I can return this collection as an service. We can just count entity dot here this names response. So yeah, guys, I think we have successfully implemented complete service there that we require along with the repository and considering like everything is configured correctly, let's go ahead and test this application live. If there is an issue, let's see, we'll fix along the way. So starting this application, that is great. As I can see, my lead request table is created. It has the reference of user ID, which we mentioned. I think another constraint was also created somewhere around here. You can see which is using this foreign key user ID from my table. Okay, and let's go ahead and test application. So if you remember my previous application, we first need to log into the application to use it. So go to my Postman. always, and let's create a new collection to that to test this application. New collection. Say this is JWT plus leave card. Let's first see the login endpoint. So here I will say login. So post request as per my login controller. HTTP colon slash slash localhost colon 80 slash endpoint of CPT. A login controller, I have a slash login. I don't, so I have an error endpoint. That's correct. Let's add slash login and access this endpoint. I have a specific leave request or login request I have created which is accepting this email ID and password. So I will go to my body, or create a JSON, email ID, and I need a password as password. Right? If every detail is correct, should ideally get a token in the response. So let me first show you guys. There are some default users that I have added using my app runner. Hopefully, I have an Arbaz, Gandhi, and Anushka. Three users I have created with one admin, which is Arbaz. You can see this role. I have set role number one as admin, which is assigned to Arbaz, and rest of them are having a normal user role. So let's go ahead and first test the login endpoint and see if I'm able to generate a token for individual user. So let me see my first user, go back to this, and I do this, password is 123, set this. That's good. I'm able to get the token. But let's say I'm giving some invalid password, which not give me. See, my authentication entry point came into action, it's not allowed to. As I have already told, we have set the security configuration. Over here, it's a default exception. So let's test the user as well. Run the user ID for 5 password this, get the token for Anushka. Sorry, I have like UBC, get the token. So let's go ahead and test the code that we create. Add a request. First I'm gonna say is Live and to understand who can access this, I'm going to add this hyphen user hyphen admin to each of this request so that I will know which can access this. Let's go ahead, make it as a post request, and the endpoint that we have, if I remember correctly, is slash leave slash user. So go ahead to my to close all first, then we go to my leave controller, and that is the leave controller, and let's see what do I need. So we need this authentication header and we need a bot. I will show you how you can pass the token authorization button. First, let's create this list. And the category number of days that add on empty subscription, right? So let's go ahead and use ChatGPT for this. Let's not create anything from scratch and say like please generate some JSON request bodies body for us. On the class name as well. Um, so understanding smart fine. We have around five lead requests. Let's use that for different region. The first lead that I want to apply, go to the body, and take draw, JSON, paste it, right? And if I go back to my
authorization. This is how I can pass my authorization header by selecting here a token, and I need a token that to be generated. So let's go ahead and first try the invalid fields. Basically, an admin should not be able to access this admin. So if I generate the token for Arbaz, which is an admin, should not be able to apply the leave. So if I paste it over here, save it, hit it, see, we're getting the error authentication entry point, which is correct. So because this is coming from my REST client, my security configuration first comes into action, and my post leave request is only allowed for the user. The same logic will apply to all the endpoints without any issues. So let's go ahead and log in a generic user, Kranti, with password 446, copy the token, let's apply the leave. So the body can remain the same. We just have to change the token, change user with access design what you can see it's given 201 created and the leave is applied. Okay, there's one issue which I can see. Okay, fine. I got the issue. You guys can see this applied on is coming as null. And I think that's because the key that I have in my leave request is like this applied on in the one that I'm passing body. This is also fine. Then there is some issue while setting it. Let's go ahead and see my API. Let's go to leave service, service, and down, request dot settle, get applied on, set applied on, right. Okay, I think the format it needs to have it like this. That's also not the case. Let's go ahead and see what else the issue. Go to the leave object. Okay, this is the issue which I found. You can see, guys, here I'm having the column name as applied on, and if I see that my issue is at leave or leave request, leave request. To debug that, let's do one thing first. Let me add this leave request reference over here, whether I'm able to access this applied or not. Okay, so let's go ahead and refresh my application. I've added the reference of this auto, right? Auto refresh. That's why due to dev tools, I'm able to refresh without anything just by saving. So if I hit it again, you see if I'm able to no. Here itself, I'm getting this null, guys. So there is some issue um with the leave request. So this thing we'll have to check. Let me see if there is the issue with the data generated by this. Okay, so let's specifically mention that this date class is java dot date, and let's see if the response change. Okay, let me see if this comes. No, that's not certain. So shall I get did I get here the or no? Let me go on this. Okay, see anyway I can get a hold of any object. Really a problem. See over here. Or that is past. That's okay. So Java title dot read and my leave object.
But it is the same. Yeah, it is same. Let's do one thing, guys. Let me change this name to add on. Okay, we should do some changes here. Yeah, let me update this as well. Source, generate, getter and setters, add on, and delete this, and delete this. I won't face such an issue, but let's see what's the issue. Let's debug it right in front of it so that it's a planning for us as well. How to solve such issues in the actual examination. Here also it's a bad on. I think that's pretty much it. Here, I just have to change the reference, set right on, and let's back to my lively. Now, it's still coming as a null. Have I accessed it over here? No, here also we're not able to get the hold of it. No problem. Let's go ahead and check this leave request once again. Okay, I found the issues. APP and IDD. Ladder. Spelling mistake, guys. I shows spelling super face. Those generate category setters. Done. And now I think they should be spots. Leave request, topic get applied on, and get that. Okay, let's see now. Hope everything works. Back to refresh. And yeah, we're able to get that. No issues. Cool. Okay, guys, going forward with the rest of the things, delete this. And for this user, let's apply a couple of things. Okay, so that is fine. Let's copy and search responses. Spot. Okay, let's apply another vacation for this and hit OK. Yeah, saved twice. Let me refresh the application. Okay, going back. Let's add a single vacation. That's okay. Then let's add another request for sick leave. Adding over here. Sick leave is added. Then I want to add a personal leave as well. Right? Parallel body. This API. Three are added for this user. Now let's go ahead and add some other leaves for one more user. And the EPC password. Yeah, I got the token back. I leaves user and here um, authorization and pass this token body. Let's copy it from this like an emergency leave. Emergency leave. This should give me ID 4. That's fine. Then let's add a maternity leave. That is added. Then let's add this leave as well. And then finally study also. But you will save data. No, it's fine. Yeah. So now my first endpoint is tested and all possible operations we have performed. Let's go ahead and test the next endpoint. At request, what is the next one that I have? It's a controller. Next one is the slash comment. Okay. So I need to update the comment for a specific um, lead ID. Currently, I have 7 leads with all IDs being like 1 to 7, right? This is currently at point position number 7. So let's test this. The put request and the slash lead slash comment endpoint. Um, the parameters that I need is this lead ID, right? And I will pass the comment. I remember that let's go ahead and test this last data that I have for ID number 7. Let's update that description. So this ID number 7, let's change the description from taking time off to prepare for upcoming exams to change into taking time off to prepare for wings exam. If I hit the center, give me an authentication point, that's pretty much easy to understand because I have not added any authentication header. And let's go ahead and add one here token here. And let's copy Anushka's token from authentication. Okay, see, and then here I'll paste it again. If I hit it, now it is updated. Taking time off to prepare for exam. Now let's suppose, guys, this endpoint is accessed by a user who does not own this leave ID number 7. So currently we can see this is accessible only for this Anushka. So what we can do is come back and currently access this. Okay, give the correct password, select the token here, state. See, we got the error. Do not own this leave coming from my user service. So this is working pretty fine. And we can proceed to the next endpoint. This is like update comment or user account. Let's go ahead and add the next endpoint, add request. This is get leaves. And the same endpoint, we have um, given two features. If the admin is trying to access this endpoint, he should be able to get all leaves. Let's test that and give a get request. Um, the authorization header, let us access the header of admin user. That is our boss. 3. I got a token. This is get leaves for admin. If I pass the mirror token over here, paste it, I think I should be able to see all 7 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I think that's working great. Let's go ahead and test another one point. Let's duplicate this and test it for a generic user. For a generic user, I think I should get uh, only leads that are applied by that user. So if I first test it for this Anushka's user by copying the token from this endpoint and the authorization, if I pass their token as this, only Anushka's lead should be accessible. You can see, right? This emergency leave pending, definitely pending, and this will be pending, and one more study leave pending. Great. So it's working fine. Let's test it for the last user also, for the Kranti user. I remember this one having this token. Back, testing this token, getting my data wrong. Get did not copy correctly. Um, let's paste this and hit this. Yeah, now you can see it is changed to Krantis. You can only have 3 days, 1, 2, and 3. So that's fine. Let's go ahead and add another request. Go back to slash status, update leave status. And this endpoint should only be accessible by an admin. So let's go ahead and do this. So update status admin request accessible by my admin, and let's tell all face failure as well as successful cases. So I need the leave ID against which I am going to make the request, and I make the status value. So let's suppose I have 1 to 7 leaves. I remember the ID ranges from 1 to 7. For leave ID number 1, let's change the status to reject. Okay. And the token that I need to pass should be of the admin user. So let me copy this token, which is for this admin user. Take it over, guys. And I will paste the payload token over here. And I'll paste is send it. It's an invalid status. Okay. Did I did a typo mistake? Let's see. Correct. REGCTT. Application. Let's go ahead and check this. Update API. There's an issue with the spelling that I need. REGCTT. Okay, so I got the issue, guys. I forgot to add a not condition over here. Basically, if it is an approved status or rejected status, then only I think if it is not any of them, then only I think I should return this error, or else it should allow. So let me wrap up in it in a bracket and a not condition. But the thing will happen is now I have to again add some of the leaves. So I'll do that as well. Again, add the leaves for the users and test this directive is important. So quickly I'll apply these first for Anushka's user to maintain the consistency. Let me go back. And I remember class 4. Anushka. So if I hit this first, then second, then third, and only I think it is done. Yeah. Now let's add some leaf for the Kranti user as well. Kranti apps 456. I get this token. It's logged into my application. Let me apply list for her. So here I want to change the token to change the user body. Let's add some leaves. Leaf number 3, then leaf number 2, and finally, uh, why it's not coming back? Leaf number 1. So I'll paste this, hit this, and you can see we have all 7 leaves applied. And let's now change the status to rejected, and I think now it should go. See, leave status applied to rejected. If I change second to approved, it should allow me. Yeah, it's changed to approved. Let's send it to some status that I don't have. Let's try with cancel. We don't have any cancel. It should give me an error. That is working great. The next failure scenario that you can test it. A normal user cannot access this endpoint. So we'll come over here and I know this is a normal user's token. Or if you want, you can copy directly from this endpoint as well because I know this is for Kranti's user. Let's copy and normal user should not be able to access this endpoint. If I paste this and hit enter, see my authenticate game detection will not authorized to use this. Let's go ahead, add request for my next controller. The next endpoint is delete leave and only admins can access this as well. So copy this and so delete request. Here I want the pass the ID of leave and the token should be of admin. So let me go ahead and first try it with this. Kranti's user is not an admin, so he should not be able to delete the leave. So if I passed here token like this, see, I'm not authorized to use this. And that's correct. And if I go back to my application, um, okay, yeah. Now I should try it with my admin user. Let's try it with that. And pause. 1, 2, 3. Let leave. Control save and create it successfully. So if I'll now try to fetch the leaves, I should not be able to find the leaf by ID 1. You can see the first one starting from 2 and like that to the end. So the data report is also working fine, guys. Let's go ahead and add one more request for get by days. Since more again, so let's copy this slash days. And as an argument, I'm going to pass number of days and query parameter should have value like for testing, I'll keep at 1. So it should ideally tell me everything. Let's see whether this works. The token, automation, and pass this category. Yeah, increase this and enter. Um, okay, there is some issue. Enter. Let me see if I've done a mistake in this. Security config. So if employment with slash leave slash days. Okay, that is not supported. Have I created a mistake in the controllers files? I think so not. Let's go back to this. Okay, I got the issue, guys. My endpoint is called slash days. However, I'm trying to access slash day. So if I check day, the thing now should be working fine. Now let's see this the issue. Of the issue slash day. Okay, the argument name that I'm passing. Number of days. What I'm now passing number of okay, the D is small. That's the issue. Oh, yeah, you can see both the users have D is greater than 1. Let us see if an user has some different conditions. So it is number of days 2. What are the maximum ones that they have? Okay, let me give see which one is the better one. It's there. And that's usually vacation is applied for 5 days, costing for 2 days, doesn't leave there, maternity leave is there for 30 days. Okay, let's try this for those leaves that are having greater than 20 days. This time I should only get another class. The wrong one. Now if I type enter, see on the Ishka screen. That's pretty much it, guys. So we have implemented the complete application, and I was also showing you some errors that may you also face in your application. You can follow this approach to develop any card operation. I think in the next video, I'm gonna cover the some course IDs questions are present. I think some of you were actually requesting to me to implement that. So in the next video, I think I should implement that, and in part 3, you can see the solution. And that's it for this video, guys. If you find any issue in implementing this, do let me know in the comments. Let me see if you guys I can help you with that. If you have any specific requirement, that also you can let me know. We'll check on that. Thank you.